The first major patch for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is finally here, and it just brings so much goodness. So let's just dive immediately into it. I am going to give you the highlights of it in this video. There's just so much stuff and fixes and buffs and nerfs that they added into the game, so I'm not going to run through every single little small detail. I am going to have the patch notes in the video description so that you can go and give that a read for yourself. Now, starting up with one of the biggest highlights, we have the Barber shop, which you will be able to find right in here. You enter from Cottonburg right in here. Down here you will find the bathhouse, and on the courtyard of the bathhouse you will find this NPC, and this is where you can change your haircut. There is a whole bunch of new hairstyles that you can find in here, so that you can change everything to your liking, to your personal liking when it comes to Henry's looks. There's just so many cool, very cool hairstyles in here. Not only that, but you also can change the beard of your Henry. Take a look at this guy. Isn't this guy just a handsome little fella that you can find right in here? So yeah, there's just so much personalization that you can add to your Henry thanks to this guy right in here. Now, modding support. The developers released the tools so that people can start modding the game. Unfortunately, this is not something that you're going to be able to download through the in-game kind of little thingy like many games like Fallout or Skyrim or Baldur's Gate have done in the past. So I'm not sure this is going to come later on to consoles, but here's hoping that that's going to be the case. There's just so much potential for modders to work their magic in here. A little more from today's sponsor. Healthy and tasty food are adjectives that we often separate them. We do not like to have them in the same word, but healthy food is that much more crucial to our body as we grow up. But when we grow up, more responsibilities come to mind. We have less time to prepare our meals, and that is where HelloFresh comes to save the day. HelloFresh delivers not only easy to cook meals to your doorstep, but they are nutritious and delicious as well. It is always varied, and you have control over what you get each week, so that way you don't actually feel bored at all on what you're eating weekly. Save some time on groceries so that you are not only healthy but productive as well. And if that is just not good enough, if you use my link or the code that you can see on screen, you will receive not only free shipment and great discount, but free breakfast for life. And yes, you did hear that right. Free breakfast for life. Now let's talk about the actual extra little things that they added in the patch. Like I mentioned, I'm not going to run through every single little thing because there's just so much to cover. I am going to give you, however, the highlights, and one of the highlights that I should like to point out that it's just so amazing what kind of wizardry they did in here. So essentially they improved the graphical look of the game. They improved the draw distances. You will still notice some kind of popping around here and that, but also the Troskovich Castle is much better at the distance now. Not only that, but they improved the draw distances and whatever that you can see on the distance, whilst at the same time addressing the performance of the game. Performance was nothing that I ever had any kind of issues with the original launch of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and therefore, I cannot give you like a overall idea of how much improvement have I received. I'm still using the same settings and configuration for my graphics in here. But what I have noticed is that there's about 20% less usage on my graphics card. So if you were struggling to run the game, then it's probably going to run much better now. For alchemy, for blacksmithing, they changed some animations, and overall there's a whole bunch of fixes for animations to when Henry is killing things, and just small little things that some people might not notice, but they are addressing all of these little nuances that you can find in the game. There's the animations, and there's the better lighting improvements for the candles when you're doing alchemy. There's better indications for whenever you're doing blacksmithing and your materials are getting colder. And there is also a whole bunch of buffs, like for example carrying capacity. So essentially what they did with carrying capacity is that they reworked the carrying capacity, they changed some things, and you might say that it is somewhat of a nerf depending on the things that you're carrying and the things that you were not carrying. I think that weapons now have less of a weight, but what they did, or what I'm guessing that they did, because the patch notes are not really that clear, is that they try to add a little bit more of realism. You will see in here that the carrying capacity that I had on my horse, this is from my previous save file before the patch, and I'm pretty sure that my horse was not overburdened. Now it is overburdened, but what I am noticing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in here, but what I'm guessing is that they actually made for chest pieces or armor pieces to be heavier, and depending, that's as well, depending on the kind of chest piece that you have, that it's either going to be heavier or not, because the Kasten Brust right in here, this is plate armor, but it's not, for example, as a fully plated armor like the Magdeburg right in here. The same applies for the riding cuirass in here. So both of these guys right here seem to be cuirasses and they weight less, but when you have full plated stuff, then it should weight more, if that makes any sense, and you should be more overburdened by carrying these pieces. So that's what I'm guessing that they did with the carrying weight and carrying capacity. Now when it comes to combat, they actually buffed the pole arms. Now they deal more damage, and not only that, they indirectly buffed the pole arms, well, the whole overall idea of all of the other weapons. The combos, once you manage to connect a combo, it is going to deal that much more damage, and that is something that I have been noticing when I'm performing my combos. They deal more damage. Now remember that if you do not want to involve yourself that much into the mastery and the combat system of the game, then you should be using axes and maces, and in this case, now that they buffed them, the pole arms that now deal more damage, so that's something to have in mind. But they also increased, I'm not sure if this is like a buff as well. I think that they reworked and rebalanced everything when it comes to the piercing damage and the slashing damage for the master parries. What I am noticing in here, and you will have gameplay of this as well, is that I am noticing that it does much more damage. And yes, one thing that I am noticing is that when you fight plated people and you're using the master parries that involve thrusting damage, they deal more damage, and whenever you see that they are not using that much armor, then the slashing portion of the attacks, they deal more damage. So now that makes a little bit more sense. One cool thing is that you're not only going to be interrupted while drawing your weapon. That's one of the biggest highlights that I wanted to point out in here, because it was very annoying that every time that you would get like ambushed by someone, or then out of the blue they would start attacking you, because there's many ambushes in this game. Whenever they would be attacking you, you have to be like running back away from them while still receiving damage, because every time that you would try to draw your sword, you would not be able to. Now you can. And on top of all of the realism that the game already natively has, the crime has also been reworked and touched a little bit. So, for example, whenever you make noise and someone would be looking out for you, prior to patch, they would hear a noise and they would immediately go to your location to investigate what was going on in there. Now, when people hear noises, they are going to notice the sound, but they are not going to be as precise when looking out for you. They are going to start looking for you, but they're not going to go immediately to the same location. That is provided that the sound or noise that you made is actually a little bit far away from them. Also, in general, crime should be a little bit more balanced on precisely that, how the NPCs react to you, what you do with their stolen stuff. Also, one more thing to have in mind is that you can no longer have stolen stuff into your stash, because it is still going to be marked as stolen, so that's something to have in mind as well. And I mean, that's just like the highlights of everything, but they fixed a whole bunch of stuff. Just to mention a little something, that sometimes when you would be overburdened and you would be going upstairs in some little locations, you would be stuck in there, and that there were like many places in the world that this would happen. So feeling overburdened would always be a nightmare, and you would always be trying to avoiding it, because you would know that sometimes it would be difficult for you to traverse, and that you would have to be losing some stuff so that you can continue moving to the place that you want to be, even while you're overburdened and you're trying to get rid of that stuff with some merchant or something. Like, a whole bunch of fixes like that have been added into the game, and yeah, that's actually kind of amazing. Anyways, if you like the content, you like and very super appreciated. No, I told you today you're a gorgeous and beautiful person. You're indeed a gorgeous and beautiful person. Subscribe to the channel, join Discord. Have a beautiful day and goodbye.